This is Battlefield 6 and I'm Geeky Pastimes. In today's video, I want to walk you through things that I think people might not know about Battlefield 6. At the end of the video, let me know in the comments below how many of these things you already knew. It would be awesome if there was at least one thing for each person that you just didn't know before, because a lot of these are not necessarily hidden, but they're just things that aren't explained very well in the game, and a lot of them can be pretty useful. There's going to be 10 coming up, so let me know your score out of 10 for things you already knew at the end of the video. Right, number one is the Levolution in the game. People made a little bit of a big deal about the fact that there was no Levolution in the game, but anyone who's been playing on Mirac Valley will know that there is Levolution. This big crane can come down sometimes and it causes a lot of damage. There's actually two different parts to this one. So for the first one, this big pipe can be dropped down, and this little valley bit in between the two buildings is a good place for people to drive tanks through when they're trying to capture points and stuff like that. So there's a decent chance you could drop this concrete pipe on top of a tank and it will destroy it instantly. I mean, to be honest, normally people put mines all the way down here, so I don't think tanks drive down here very much. But I've seen it happen in an Instagram reel, so I'm sure it's possible. So if you want it to drop down, just take some sort of explosive, something like that, and then just shoot the top of the pipe, the bit that's being grabbed, and the whole thing will come down and destroy whatever was standing underneath it. And then it also adds this extra bit of kind of cover, I guess, just here. You can run through it if you want to. It's just a cool mini bit of Levolution. But that's not the main proper Levolution on this level. Instead, you can drop this entire crane. Now, the thing that I think a lot of people don't know is just how to actually do this, how to trigger this to fall down. It's not just damage to the crane, it's actually damage to the counterweight up there. So I've already fired one rocket at it. If I just fire some more, so I'm just going to use the RPG here, that's a second rocket, and you can actually sometimes see sort of where the damage is happening to it. You want to destroy the entire thing. That's the third rocket, and I think maybe one more. So there we go, the third rocket's gone. Now bits start dropping off the crane. You can see the whole thing, like this is very elaborate. The whole thing starts swaying a little bit. Then the front of it goes down, takes out that side of the building. The back drops off, and then the entire thing sort of folds in on itself and then smashes down, taking out a bit more of the building. If there's snipers who are going up there and annoying you, you can do that. So it took me 4 RPG rockets to take down the entire thing. But that is Levolution on a new map in Battlefield 6, and I think that's pretty cool. Now, the next one is specifically to do with Assault, and this was something that I didn't know, even though I had the game early for a couple of weeks, I didn't know this until just a couple of days ago. So when you spawn as Assault, one of the things that is most annoying about it is how little ammo you have. And I've seen a bunch of people online complaining that they just don't have much ammo. So I just spawned here, and you can see in the carbine that I've got 21 bullets in a magazine, and I've only got 2 magazines spare. Then, in my shotgun, which I've got on the 4 button as one of my gadgets, I've also got 7 shots in here, and then 2 spare sort of full reloads, so I've got 14 in reserve. So I've basically got, in here, 63 bullets, and then on the shotgun, I've got 21 bullets. That was some very quick math on the fly. Now, if I redeploy, my poor soldier doesn't get to go home, he just falls over and gives up. If I redeploy, and then on this menu, I change my gadget away from a shotgun, so I change it to one of the other assault gadgets, like maybe the grenade launcher. Let's try that one. And then I save and close and deploy again. Now you'll see, for my carbine, for my main weapon, I don't just have 2 spare magazines, I've got, what's that, 5 spare magazines? No, maybe that's more than that. It's a lot of spare magazines. 6 spare magazines. Yeah, 6. So I've now got an extra 4 spare magazines for the carbine. So what's happening is, if you bring an extra weapon as your secondary, if you bring a shotgun, you're actually splitting your whole ammo allocation between those 2 weapons. And you end up with kind of less ammo overall than you would have if you just brought one. And this is a cool little balancing thing. You know, if you want to bring 2 primary weapons, 2 big weapons, then you're going to split your ammo over it. Or if you just want to bring 1 because you want to use some of the other gadgets, then that's absolutely fine. You can do, and you will have a lot more ammo in reserve as a result. I think that's pretty cool. So if you play as Assault and you're not really using the shotgun, maybe drop it for something like the breaching grenade launcher, and then you'll have more ammo. Now, this next tip, I think a lot of people will already know this, but I don't see many people using it in game. So I'm sure there's still some of you that somehow missed it and don't realize quite how this works. On the Assault class, you have the ladder. It's a new gadget to the series. I think it's super useful. And you can see here, when you're moving up against something, you can kind of see a ghost image of what it's going to look like. And it can go pretty high up, like, you know, you can go pretty steep with it. You can't go, like, entirely vertical with it, but you can go pretty close. So, I put it down, and then I can climb up here, and then this little destroyed section of the wall, I can obviously shoot from down there, I can hide up here, and if I don't want someone to know how I got up here, I can pick up the ladder again, and I can obviously reuse it. I know Jaff did a really good short video where he was showing how you can actually climb quite a long way up these buildings just by constantly using these and climbing up. And you can also use it if you want, just to bridge a little gap like that. But this is quite a cool little sniper little perch with a lot of cover if somebody wanted to be tricky and hide here. Anyway, that isn't what I wanted to show you. What I wanted to show you is that when you're using this ladder, obviously if you're making it so it goes quite high up, you have to climb it like a ladder, and that means you can't use any of your weapons. You're locked into it until you get to the top. But if you use a ladder on a shallower angle, so say if you wanted to get up here, you could put it here and you'd have to climb up. You'd have to climb up there. But if you just step back a little bit and wait until the bits in between the rungs go solid, you can see there the difference. There you can see through it, and there it goes solid. When it goes solid like that, instead of being a ladder, it actually deploys as a ramp instead, and that means that you can walk up it and even do things like use it to get a little head glitch so you can just see over the edge and shoot people like that. Now, this is unbelievably useful on maps, like especially breakthrough versions of maps, where you don't have a huge amount of cover, you don't have a lot of options. You can use this to get angles that other people might not expect, and you can use it just to push up somewhere really, really quickly, because someone on the other side of terrain like this won't actually be able to see that you've got a ladder there at all, but you've now made a ramp so people can very quickly just jump over and get over that. Now, the next tip is for the support class, and again, this is something that I didn't know about until like yesterday. I've been playing this game for absolutely ages, and I feel like I play a support almost more than any other class, and I still didn't know about this. So, one of the most useful things as support is that you can put down a supply bag. So, on PC, you just tap X, things like up on the D-pad on controller, and you drop this supply bag, and it will give you ammo, it will give you grenades, it will give you health back if you're injured. It's super useful. But one thing that happens quite a lot is that you'll be running around. So you'll be playing the game and you'll be pushing up with your friends, with your squad, and then you'll get to a little bit of cover and you'll quickly throw a support bag down. And then everyone you were trying to supply just immediately keeps on running, and you're like, oh, well, now I can't put another supply bag down because I don't have one. I'm having to wait for the cooldown. You see, it's still not done yet. So you could be waiting for absolutely ages to get it back, then finally you get it back. Now, if you want to get that back quicker, just walk up to it, pick it up. You can see there now, the bar at the bottom right goes way quicker. So you can actually get it back much, much faster if you just pick it up before you leave. So if you're doing a similar kind of thing, like everybody stops at this point and you drop it down, people are getting a little bit of ammo back, people are getting a little bit of health back, but then you're pushing up. Just remember to pick it up before you go, and you can see how quickly that's filling up in the bottom right corner. And now, when you get to the new bit of cover, you can throw it down again. Now, this works with a few different gadgets in the game, but not all of them. So, like the trophy system for the support, you can put that down, and sadly, you cannot interact with it to pick it up. But if you put down a supply bag, it will recharge super fast anyway. Like you can see, you barely have to wait very long. And because of this tip, where you can keep on picking these up, you're never going to be without a supply bag again. Now, this next tip might seem super obvious to a lot of you. I know it will, particularly people who have played a lot of first-person shooter video games. But it doesn't actually make sense in real life, and I've seen lots and lots of people playing online who don't seem to know anything about it. If you need to run somewhere and it's quite a long way away, like say you want to get to that building over there, running in Battlefield 6 isn't super fast. It takes a little while. If you hold the melee button, so on keyboard and mouse you just hold F and get your knife out, you run much faster. Like, you run a lot quicker just with your knife out. Now, it doesn't make any sense because you're still carrying your gun and everything like that. And in Battlefield, you can actually get your gun out insanely quickly. So it's not like this is going to cause a big problem. If an enemy pops out, you can just quickly switch and start shooting. Like, that's not a problem at all. Now, when you're choosing your melee weapon, this only applies to fast running. The increased sprint speed when equipped only applies to the combat knife and the hunting knife. The sledgehammer, it does not apply to at all. So if you try to run using the sledgehammer, you'll see you just run at the exact same speed as you do with an assault rifle. Also, just as a bonus little tip, this isn't going to count against the main ones, but on anything that looks like it's concrete like this, you can just kind of tap it and you see it just knocks a hole through just at the right height for you to be able to shoot through, which gives you a few more options when you're shooting. Now, this next tip is for the SS26, which is an incendiary round shotgun. I know lots of people won't have unlocked it yet. You have to do a bunch of challenges in the game in order to be able to unlock it, just in the assault class. So if you go to your pause menu and go to challenges and then assignment class, you can see there's a bunch of different ones for each class. To get the special incendiary shotgun, you've got to do the first set of assault, the normal assault ones, and then do the first one of assault expert, which isn't too bad. You just have to get kills while contesting objectives, but to get there you've got to get a load of kills with grenades and loads of kills after using the adrenaline injector. But anyway, once you've got this incendiary shotgun, you might be a bit underwhelmed. Like, it's pretty terrible. It's not a good gun at all, especially compared to the normal shotgun, which can insta-kill people. This takes quite a while to kill people, but it does have a super useful function that I think a lot of people don't know about. So while you're trying to shoot enemies and you shoot like that, you're not going to do as much damage as a normal shotgun. And you might think, well, what's the point? Why am I even bothering with this? Well, the real benefit of the incendiary shotgun is that you can shoot the ground. And if you shoot the ground, you can actually start a fire that will burn any enemies coming through. And if there's, say, someone hiding behind cover, so maybe there's someone hiding behind that car, you can shoot the ground and it will set fire to the ground behind that car and hurt them. Now, the fire damage isn't very strong. It's like the incendiary grenades. Enemies can kind of shrug it off by itself. But if someone's a bit weak and just ran behind some cover, they just sort of slid behind a little bit of cover, you might be able to finish them off with it. Or if you're trying to stop someone coming through an angle because you want to heal someone or something like that, then it actually can be kind of useful. So for this one, we're going to be looking at air vehicles. Now, when you're flying air vehicles around, especially in somewhere as dangerous as Firestorm, you're probably going to take damage at some point. You're probably going to get hit by someone. So if you just fly near this icon, you can fly pretty low and you're missing a bunch of health, you'll instantly repair an absolute ton of damage without needing to do anything. You don't need to land, you don't need to have someone repairing you or anything like that. Now, that's unbelievably useful. You can do this in jets too. You can fly past down a jet. It does seem to have a cooldown of maybe like 30 seconds before you can do it again. But it is super useful if you're trying to defend objectives somewhere near the base, that you can just fly back there. That is super handy. Now, you see that big tower up there on Firestorm? This is the other type of Levolution that's actually from the original version of this map in Battlefield 6. Sometimes you'll see snipers hiding up at the top of that tower, climbing right up to the very top. Now, there is a way to get rid of them out of there, but it requires getting to the base of the tower, which can obviously sometimes be a little bit dangerous. So what we want to do is head on over here, just to the base of the big pipe, and then hopefully without getting too murdered, find this button here, and if you interact with it, you can hear there's an alarm going off, and what it will do is vent a load of fire up from the top of there, and you see it coming out the sides there. That will cook anybody who's on top of the pipe. It's a little bit tricky to do when there's enemies all around. So this is the platform. This is what it looks like when you're up here, and you can see these little holes. This is where the fire comes out if somebody hits that switch down at the bottom. Now for the next one, we're going to be loading up the engineer, and you might see if you look at the engineer training path that one of the perks for it is extra rockets. It increases the amount of rockets carried by 2. Now you might look at that and think, well, that's really confusing, because when I actually spawn as an engineer, I don't have extra rockets. I just have the normal 3 that you always start with, and it doesn't matter whether you've got the other thing or not. And you don't need to earn this perk because it's the first one. You just should have extra rockets by default. Now the trick here really is in the wording of the perk. You don't spawn with extra rockets. Instead, you can carry extra rockets. So if you stand or sit over a bag, you can see here my rockets are filling up super quickly. And now, because I've got that perk that lets me hold extra rockets, I can actually run around with 5 rockets. It won't let me carry any more than that. But if you're going into a fight, you can kind of prepare by having more rockets. I'm sure everyone who's played Engineer has known the feeling when you are fighting a tank and you just don't have enough rockets to finish it off. This is kind of the solution. It's not perfect. It is a little bit annoying that you do have to go pick them up first. But it is pretty great that you can carry 5 rockets at a time, and like I said, it's a good way to sort of get prepared. Whenever you're spawning as an engineer and you know you're going to be going to fight a tank, it's a good idea if you've got someone in your squad who's support, just to stop by a supply bag, stock up on your rockets before you go and start fighting the tank. So that's everything. That is 10 tips that I think some people might not know from Battlefield 6. If you've got any of your own tips, let me know. And like I said at the beginning of the video, let me know how many of these you already knew. I'd be so happy if people were learning new things in this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one. Goodbye.